They instructed her to depart, claimed she didn't fit their clientele, ridiculed her for having the audacity to request merely $500. A woman of simple appearance, lacking a designer bag or jewelry, evidently deemed unworthy of their attention. Yet, within the span of a mere hour, the marble floor of the bank quivered beneath the oppressive hush as the glass doors parted, revealing a man whose eyes blazed with intensity and whose gait exuded authority. Initially, he went unrecognized by everyone. Only when he spoke with an unsettling tranquility did he declare, "I'm here for my wife." In that instant, all began to fall apart. Everything changed the moment they recognized her, just as her billionaire husband entered the room. A woman with a gentle demeanor and soft eyes, dressed in a modest blouse and faded jeans, pushed open the heavy glass doors of Sterling Sky Bank. The bank exuded an air of opulence, featuring grand marble columns, sparkling crystal chandeliers, and impeccably uniformed guards who maintained an almost rigid posture. As she entered, a palpable silence enveloped the lobby, not due to any appearance of suspicion. She was simply too plain for a setting adorned in luxury. She was known as Laura. She entered with the intention of completing a straightforward transaction, yet what unfolded was a deeply embarrassing encounter that left her reevaluating her understanding of dignity and compassion. "Pardon me," she said with a courteous tone to the security guard stationed by the entrance. "Where can I access funds from my account?" She was completely unaware that one simple sentence could provoke such a flurry of disdain. The guard, a sturdy figure in his early 40s, assessed her with a glance and shrugged indifferently. "The ATMs are located to the left, ma'am, though it seems you may have arrived at the incorrect branch. This is primarily intended for our exclusive clientele." His voice wasn't overtly aggressive, yet it oozed with a sense of superiority. Laura experienced a slight constriction in her chest. She was confident she had chosen the correct branch. This was the primary branch of Sterling Sky, and in all the advertisements she had encountered, there was no mention of any exclusive policy. With a subtle nod to the guard, she pressed on, resolute in her decision not to let him intimidate her. As she walked towards the teller desks, she observed the gleaming counters and the employees clad in coordinated suits, each adorned with understated silver pins on their lapels. The first teller, a young woman with impeccably styled hair and a name tag that read Christina, glanced up with a smile that faded immediately upon seeing Laura's outfit. Laura took a moment to compose herself, striving to maintain a calm and even tone. "I would like to request a withdrawal." Christina raised an eyebrow. "Of course, ma'am. The least amount you can withdraw from the desk is $10,000. For amounts less than that, we typically guide individuals to the ATM." Laura's eyes fluttered. She required just a few $100s to settle the payment for a handyman who exclusively dealt in cash. She didn't have a lot of cash on her, but she required some actual bills that day. "To be honest, I only need $500, she murmured gently. And there it stood, the initial significant impact. Christina scoffed audibly, drawing the attention of a few nearby tellers who exchanged amused glances. $500? Christina reiterated, ensuring that all within earshot were attentive. "We prioritize in-person transactions for our esteemed clients, generally those who uphold a specific balance or are making substantial withdrawals." Laura sensed a warmth rising to her cheeks. "My account balance is quite sufficient. Is there a specific reason I am unable to withdraw $500 from this location?" Christina gave a slight shrug, her body pivoting to engage with another teller. "Claims she has an abundance in her account?" The other teller, a tall man named Robert, stifled a laugh, feigning concentration as he busily typed away. In that instant, Laura's composure started to unravel. She had grown accustomed to a certain degree of patronizing attitude. She opted for a straightforward outfit, her hair was casually arranged, and she adorned herself with no extravagant accessories. Yet her mother had consistently instilled in her the belief that one should never assess others based on their outward looks. As she stood in the gleaming bank lobby, an unsettling sensation washed over her, as if she were the punchline of a joke that had long lost its humor. "Could I please speak with a manager?" she inquired, striving to maintain her poise. Christina let out an exasperated sigh. Absolutely. However, I have no doubt he will share the same sentiment with you. She activated a button on her desk phone. After a brief pause, Henry emerged, the floor manager, a middle-aged gentleman with silver hair and a meticulously tailored suit that exuded luxury. He approached, casting Laura a glance typically reserved for an unwelcome visitor. Greetings, I'm Henry, the one in charge here. Is there an issue? Laura articulated her thoughts with precision. She wished to take out a small sum. The team continued to assert that the ATM was the superior choice. Yet she found no trouble in standing in line. She simply desired the funds from her account. Ma'am, our institution takes great pride in its efficiency, Henry responded. An ATM is available for those smaller transactions. Our in-person desks cater to clients with discerning requirements. The manner in which he articulated elevated made it evident that she fell short of whatever benchmark they had set. Laura felt a strong impulse to stand up for herself, perhaps to bring up the real number in her bank account. Yet, an invisible force restrained her. She believed that one shouldn't need to justify their value merely to access a modest amount of money. All right, she spoke gently, managing a courteous smile. I'll simply utilize the ATM. Henry offered her a firm nod. Can be found further down the hallway. Make a left turn at the second intersection. As Laura moved away, she caught the faint murmur of Christina's voice, barely concealed. It seems that certain individuals struggle to grasp the dynamics at play in this environment. Laura felt a flush of heat in her ears, yet she pressed on, resolute in her mission to take care of her affairs and depart. She navigated towards the ATM section, gliding past a beautifully decorated corridor adorned with framed accolades lining the walls. Sterling Sky Bank seemingly celebrated unprecedented profits, charitable initiatives, and exclusive programs for its valued clients. Laura perused a plaque that highlighted their commitment to treating every client with the highest level of respect. She nearly chuckled at the irony. Upon reaching the ATM nook, she discovered it cordoned off, adorned with a handwritten sign that declared her disappointment. Her heart sank. She looked back down the lengthy corridor, understanding that she would need to go back and likely face more derision. She inhaled deeply, seeking the strength within, then pivoted and made her way back. As she stepped back into the main lobby, several heads turned to look at her. Once more, she made her way to Christina's desk. The ATM is currently unavailable for use. She spoke softly, preparing herself. Christina caught Robert's gaze, which was now fixed on her with unabashed curiosity. Then she cast a glance back at Laura. That's quite disappointing. Consider giving the branch uptown a shot. Laura's jaw clenched. I require the funds immediately. Is it possible to withdraw it? This is my financial institution. Henry advanced once more, a scowl firmly set upon his features. Generally, we do not handle such minor withdrawals in person, particularly for clients who walk in. The final words cut deep. She didn't just stroll in. She had maintained this account for 3 years. She gritted her teeth, fighting the urge to lash out. I don't just drop in unannounced. I possess an account on this platform. My spouse also maintains a substantial account with your institution. Henry cast her a scathing glance. We manage accounts that maintain monthly average balances in the millions, ma'am. Do you truly believe that you and your husband share that kind of relationship with us? The shame settled heavily upon her, constricting her like a vice. She had never flaunted her husband's wealth. She simply didn't embody that type of individual. Yet she found herself ensnared in a predicament where upholding her own dignity necessitated disclosing aspects she never imagined she would have to. Her voice quivered just a bit. I would greatly appreciate it if you could process a request for $500. Henry let out a heavy sigh, as though burdened by an unwelcome disturbance. Christina, let's try to find her account. Could you please provide your account number, ma'am? Laura recited it effortlessly. Christina accessed the information, her gaze moving swiftly across the display. Initially, her expression conveyed a sense of disinterest. Then it transformed. She gently prodded Robert, inching nearer to him to shield the monitor from Laura's view. Robert's eyes widened for a brief moment. Then he wore a sly grin. "Oh, fascinating," he murmured. Yet Henry cleared his throat. "Okay, let's take a look." He strolled about to observe. "Your account is registered under the name Laura Daniels. The current status of our system indicates a balanced situation." He halted for a moment, casting his eyes toward the display. "There is a note here that mentions another linked account under your husband's name, Thomas Daniels, but it cannot be fully accessed from your login." He seemed to express a hint of disappointment that there was, at the very least, some indication of affluence. "Excuse me, would you be so kind as to wait over there?" Henry gestured to a couch by the entrance, its plush fabric tailored for a more refined clientele, yet it sat unoccupied at the moment. Laura, weary and reluctant to engage, made her way over and took a seat, sensing a sense of shame that resembled that of a reprimanded child rather than that of a valued patron. Time seemed to stretch endlessly. Fragments of dialogue drifted from behind the desks. Phrases such as, "Absurd," "What's the point?" and "We can't accommodate every stranger who enters." Her stomach twisted in knots. She yearned to depart, yet felt a strong resistance against yielding to their arrogance. She was completely justified in taking money from her account. Just as she was ready to rise and face them one final time, a tall, angular woman with impeccable posture entered the room. The nameplate affixed to her blouse displayed, "Alicia, Customer Relations Manager." She strolled to the couch and cast Laura a similar dismissive glance. Alicia stated, almost as if reciting lines, that she had been told you were asking for an in-person withdrawal for a small amount. "Regrettably, our guidelines dictate that smaller transactions must be processed through an ATM or our online platform." Laura attempted to conceal her quivering hands. "The ATM is out of order. I just require $500 in cash. This is my financial institution. Are you unable to assist me?" Alicia's eyes sparkled with irritation. "We are currently engaged in extensive efforts to cater to our esteemed clients. A simple $500 withdrawal throws our workflow into disarray. Should you possess a private banking account with us, our team would be delighted to provide you with assistance. However, as it currently exists," she let her voice fade, allowing the idea to linger in the air. Laura sensed the sting of tears gathering at the edges of her eyes. She had never encountered such overt class discrimination. She sifted through her purse, determined to demonstrate that her checking account held sufficient funds. But what could she reveal to them that would hold significance? She no longer held onto paper statements. Everything had transitioned to the digital realm. At that moment, Robert approached with a sly smirk. "Why not consider asking your husband, then? If he holds a substantial account with us, perhaps he could simply transfer the funds to you. Spare us all the hassle." That was the moment something in Laura shattered. She rose to her feet, straightened her posture, and met his gaze with unwavering intensity. "Very well," she murmured. "I shall reach out to my husband." The whole team appeared to revel in a self-satisfied laugh. Henry stifled a chuckle, disguising it with a cough. Alicia pivoted sharply and strode away, glancing at her watch as if each moment held immense value. Laura discreetly retrieved her phone and ventured outside to savor a moment of fresh air. She experienced a deep sense of humiliation, as if every aspect of her being held no value in their perception. She picked up the phone, her voice trembling slightly as she conveyed the situation in soft whispers. On that day, Thomas Daniels was on the road for an important meeting, one that would bring together international investors. He was the last individual she wished to trouble with something of this nature. Upon detecting the quiver in her voice, he inquired, "Laura, what's happening? Who is showing you a lack of respect?" She inhaled unsteadily. "It's really nothing to worry about. I simply required some funds. Yet, it feels as though I'm being regarded as an outsider. It seems they are unwilling to provide it to me. The ATM is out of order. They persist in insisting that I'm not a VIP. I requested to have a conversation with the manager, but..." She paused, forcing down the knot in her throat. Thomas paused, enveloped in silence for a moment. "What branch is this?" he inquired with a sense of tranquility. She informed him, and he replied, "Remain exactly where you are. Please allow me a moment." Unbeknownst to her, Thomas had a scheme brewing in the shadows. She was aware of his considerable wealth, yet he typically chose to remain under the radar, opting for a more unassuming way of living. The employees at this bank were completely unaware that they were dealing with an individual whose wealth had surpassed the multibillion threshold. Laura walked back and forth outside, her phone gripped tightly in her hand. She glanced inside and observed Alicia shaking her head at Henry, as if Laura were an annoyance. Eventually, feeling a bit more composed, she stepped back into the lobby, only to be met with Christina's self-satisfied smile. "Returned already? Did your husband mention that he can't help you out this time?" That was the breaking point. Laura sensed the sharpness of tears once more, yet she stood resolute against the urge to weep. She merely shook her head, bit her lip, and settled back onto that plush couch, resolutely choosing to remain still. The guard from earlier strolled over with a casual air. "Excuse me, but if you're not here for business purposes, we kindly request that you exit the premises." Laura cast him a tired look. "I am engaged in business and awaiting my husband's confirmation on something." He merely shrugged. "Do as you wish." The seconds dragged on in unbearable stillness. The staff carried on with their duties, occasionally casting her sidelong glances filled with mockery or intrigue. Two distinguished clients entered, welcomed with beaming smiles and freshly brewed cappuccinos from the elegant espresso machine. A man clad in a lavish suit engaged in a transaction that seemed monumental, as Henry appeared to almost defer to him. A different woman, adorned with high-end accessories, was led into a private lounge, completely ignoring Laura in the process. It felt as though an alternate reality was playing out before her eyes, a realm where wealth spoke more powerfully than fundamental decency. Suddenly, the bank doors burst open with no prior indication. In strolled a trio of impeccably attired gentlemen in tailored suits. They appeared authoritative, each wielding a briefcase. Henry's eyes sparkled, likely confusing them for corporate auditors or affluent clients. He rushed ahead to welcome them. Laura observed something unusual. Every man donned a small pin resembling a hawk's head, the symbol of her husband's private security company, Raptor Guard. Her heart began to race. In the meantime, Henry wore a beaming smile. "Welcome, gentlemen, to Sterling Sky. How may we help you today?" The tall man with silver hair fixed a piercing gaze on Henry. "We represent Mr. Thomas Daniels. Could you please guide us to your primary conference room? There is pressing matter that requires our attention." Christina, Robert, Alicia, all were momentarily paralyzed. Henry stammered, "Mr. Daniels, is he joining us as well? Is he?" Just as a response was about to emerge, the doors burst open once more. This time, Thomas Daniels made his entrance. He was dressed in something far from the usual business attire. He wore a collared shirt with the sleeves rolled up, a tie loosely hanging around his neck, as if he had rushed out of a meeting. The familiar gentle warmth in his eyes gave way to a chilling rage. Laura sprang up from the couch, a wave of relief washing over her. Yet, a sense of unease lingered within her. The atmosphere was charged with an intensity that felt almost suffocating. Thomas approached her directly. "Are you okay?" he inquired gently, tucking a lock of hair behind her ear. She nodded, her heart swelling with appreciation for his deep concern. He pivoted to confront the whole lobby. "Who holds the reins here?" His voice resonated with a distinct confidence, reflecting the experience of someone accustomed to leadership. Henry advanced with careful deliberation. "I oversee the operations on the floor. In what way can I assist you?" Thomas clenched his jaw. "Please provide an explanation for the denial of my wife's withdrawal from her account." Henry attempted to summon a charming smile. "We have established guidelines that mandate specific transaction amounts for services conducted in person. We are directing smaller transactions to ATMs, however, the machine is currently out of service. We suggested that your wife explore another branch." Thomas sealed his lips as if containing a tempest within. "So you declined to return her own funds?" Alicia, having quietly approached Henry from behind, chimed in. "We have established procedures, sir. We serve distinguished clients, individuals who uphold substantial balances and engage in considerable transactions. It's simply not feasible for us to accommodate every minor request in person. We would be overwhelmed. Thomas cast a glance her way, his voice lowering in pitch. Surely you recognize my identity, don't you? Alicia endeavored to maintain her poise. Mr. Daniels, we acknowledge your account with us. However, our VIP desks generally do not manage smaller sums such as $500. Thomas's expression grew stern. Insignificant. Fascinating selection of language. He cast a quick look at Laura, who was shaking a bit, remembering the way they'd made her feel small. Then he confronted Henry, Alicia, Christina, and Robert, who were clustered together like secretive accomplices. My wife arrived here and courteously asked to withdraw $500. You diminished her, mocked her, and created an atmosphere of exclusion. Is that accurate? The hush enveloped the room, a powerful response in itself. Thomas acknowledged the trio of suited men with a single nod. One of them advanced, unveiling a polished black briefcase. He retrieved a stack of papers, presenting them to Thomas. Thomas glanced over them swiftly before turning his gaze to Henry. I am closing all my accounts with Sterling Skybank. In effect right away. This encompasses my individual accounts, my professional accounts, and all related trust funds. We will be withdrawing the complete investment portfolio that we had placed here. The most recent figure we noted was approximately $2 billion, plus or minus a few million. A shared breath of astonishment swept across the lobby. Alicia's eyes grew large with utter disbelief. Robert let the pen slip from his fingers, the object clattering to the surface below. Christina silently formed the words $2 billion as if she were in disbelief. Henry's face drained of all its color. He swiftly attempted to rectify the circumstances. Mr. Daniels, it seems there has been a mix-up. Your support, along with your wife's, is greatly appreciated. We have established specific guidelines. Thomas interrupted, passing the papers to him. Please proceed with the closure of all accounts associated with my name, my spouse's name, and any shell corporations or affiliates under my control. I will relocate the funds to a place that truly values its clients. Henry's hands trembled as he grasped the papers, his eyes darting over them in a frenzy. Alicia, grasping the gravity of the situation, made an effort to intervene. We can resolve this matter, sir. We can promptly extend an apology, facilitate any withdrawal your wife desires, even in a private lounge. Thomas slowly shook his head. A late apology cannot undo the embarrassment you caused her. You assessed her based on how she looked, diminishing her sense of worth. I have no interest in engaging with that bank. At this point, every staff member present appeared on the verge of either collapsing or breaking down in tears. Henry made one final, desperate move. Let's reach out to our regional director and explore the possibility of arranging a special courtesy. This bank has taken great pride in having you as a client for many years. Thomas let out a dry, humorless chuckle. A humorous approach to presenting it. Your staff made my wife feel worthless. I will respectfully cover the penalty fees for withdrawing my funds before the maturity date. Because, to be honest, my wife's dignity holds far greater importance to me than money. Alicia rested a quivering hand on Henry's shoulder, her eyes pleading for him to make things right. However, the moment had passed. The security guard from earlier lingered in the shadows, his expression a mix of disbelief and discomfort. He was fully aware that attempting to guide them out at this point was futile. One of Thomas's security personnel advanced, phone pressed to his ear, nodding in acknowledgement. The wire transfers are prepared, sir. All that's left is your final signature. Thomas cast his gaze upon Laura. Darling, would you like to give your approval on this? Or perhaps I should. Laura paused, still grappling with the overwhelming surprise of how quickly everything had spiraled out of control. She cast a fleeting look at the staff, noticing the trepidation reflected in their eyes. A portion of her heart ached for them. The loss of a $2 billion deposit would undoubtedly lead to turmoil within the bank's management structure. But then she recalled the way they had mocked her, laughter ringing in her ears. How they had essentially conveyed to her that she wasn't deserving of their effort. She extended her hand and grasped the pen. I'll sign, she declared, her voice unwavering, a calm determination glimmering in her gaze. They led her to a side table where she hastily wrote down her name. In that instant, the staff's arrogance and disdain dissolved into sheer panic and desperation. Henry sought to devise a last-minute solution. Robert appeared as though he wished to vanish into thin air. Christina toyed with her nails, her earlier confidence now wavering. Alicia made an effort to softly touch Laura's arm. Madam, I implore you, there is no necessity for such extreme actions. This can be resolved. We Laura gently withdrew, maintaining that same elegant demeanor she had displayed from the very beginning. She remained silent. Her face conveyed everything. You had your opportunity to show me some respect. After signing the final documents, Thomas pivoted to confront Henry. A press statement will be prepared concerning the withdrawal. While we won't delve into details, it's important to note that if the narrative surrounding your team's customer interactions becomes public, it is unlikely to cast Sterling Sky Bank in a favorable light. Henry's lips parted, yet silence enveloped him. He was likely envisioning the calls he would receive from executives, the collapse of their esteemed VIP brand. Thomas signaled to his security team and they started gathering the documents, arranging them with precision. Laura cast a final look at the staff who had mocked her. A surge of mixed feelings enveloped her. Frustration, sorrow, a hint of justification, yet predominantly a sense of liberation as she stepped out with her dignity intact. They navigated their path toward the exit. Clients in the waiting area, feeling the palpable tension, moved aside as if parting the Red Sea. One or two well-known Thomases from business magazines, and their eyes nearly bulged in astonishment. Laura sensed the quiet murmurs and the heavy gaze of many eyes upon her. Yet it held no significance any longer. She grasped Thomas's arm, thankful for his steadfast support. Just as they approached the door, Christina's voice emerged faintly. I apologize, ma'am. The effort to mitigate the situation was lacking in strength. Laura hesitated for a brief moment, glancing back over her shoulder. Rather than reacting with anger or arrogance, she offered a subtle, courteous nod before exiting the room. No further words were necessary. The ultimate strike had already been delivered. The sun bathed Laura's face in an unusually warm glow as she stepped outside. She inhaled deeply, clearing her eyes of the final remnants of sorrow. Thomas faced her, his gaze softer in that moment. Are you all right? She inclined her head with a measured gesture. I apologize for interrupting you during your important meeting. He merely shrugged his shoulders. There's nothing more powerful than defending yourself when faced with disrespect. Her smile reflected the warmth of his genuine words. I can't believe you're really taking out $2 billion. He offered a subtle smile. That money can always be put to better use elsewhere. But what about your sense of worth? That's truly invaluable. Laura rested her head on his shoulder for a brief moment, allowing a wave of relief to envelop her. Then she withdrew, her eyes glimmering. Shall we head back home now? Perhaps we could swing by a nearby bank's ATM as we go. His laughter filled the air, causing the tension to dissipate like mist in the morning sun. In the days that ensued, information circulated rapidly. Although Thomas had no intention of drawing attention, whispers began to circulate. It seems that certain employees at the bank may have shared information. Before long, financial forums and local business pages were abuzz with the tale of a modestly dressed woman who was denied service at Sterling Sky only for her billionaire husband to withdraw $2 billion from their vaults in response. A portion of her audience applauded, perceiving it as a form of poetic retribution. Some believed it to be nothing more than a tale spun from the fabric of city folklore. Yet inside the bank, chaos prevailed. Henry faced a demotion due to concerns regarding his management of a VIP account. Alicia, Robert, and Christina encountered disciplinary reviews along with reductions in their pay. The whole branch received a notification to participate in customer sensitivity training. Regarding Laura, she never boasted or reveled in her achievements. She continued to favor her simple attire, and she remained committed to offering everyone an equal opportunity. She and Thomas discovered a new bank, one that honored them with respect from the very beginning. Without inquiry, without presumption. Whenever she required a small withdrawal, she entered with a warm smile, greeted the staff, and received the kind of service that every valued customer deserves. Did you find it enjoyable to listen? Give this video a thumbs up to show your appreciation. Share your insights in the comments below. Pass it along to those who could use a nudge about true respect. And remember to subscribe for more tales that deliver a gratifying twist. Until we meet again.